Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Informist, episode 26, recorded on January 30th, 2015. The Tech Informist is a show intended to help inform and educate listeners such as you about the world of technology with interviews of guests from the tech industry, along with lively and entertaining commentary about the latest tech news. My name is Kevin Harvell, and I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, JJ Hammond. JJ, how are you?
I'm doing better now that I'm talking to you. It's the Friday before the Super Bowl. I'm super excited. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, normally I don't take sides in the Super Bowl because I just want to see a good game. But by gosh, after this whole Marshawn Lynch of, shout out to my teammates and just being a complete jerk to during media week, go Patriots.
Okay. All
That's
right.
simply all it takes. I'm like, no, that's just wrong.
Sure.
You
There's
should be there to have fun.
Yep. Yep.
Fun.
Fun is fun and it's awesome. I love having fun. So let's have fun, Kevin.
Right.
Where can
So
people find out more about how to have fun with us?
yeah, so most people would like to know how you can get involved and how you can keep up with the Tech Informist. You can always visit us at thetechinformist.com, and if you would like to watch live, check our upcoming schedule and see who are on our guest list for upcoming guests, which we do have one that I just put in the live page today. Visit thetechinformist.com/live and participate in the live chat. So you can also find us on Twitter at Tech Informist. Find us on Facebook, Google+, Instagram. Join us, spread the word, tell some friends. And you can also email us with feedback, comments, suggestions, any information possible. Send it to contact@thetechinformist.com. JJ, time to move into the news of the day. Looks like you're first up. Let's kick it off.
Let's kick it off indeed, sir. Well, first up is I talked with Ben, the PC guy Rudolph, Paul Thurrott, and a couple of my other friends out there in the world. And I asked, what music service do you use? The resounding, other than the Microsoft Xbox Music, was Spotify. And Spotify alone in other markets and other countries has driven down the rates of piracy, of ripped music and video, whatever. But Spotify does a great job. It kind of weird, the whole Taylor Swift scenario, but we'll get into that some other time. Spotify is coming to PlayStation as the default PlayStation Music player on PS4, PS3, and the Xperia line of smartphones. Now, the Xperia line, admittedly, people like them when they get them, but not a lot of people know about them, and that's kind of sad because they are pretty nice devices. In fact, Kevin has tried some of those out, and I do believe you like those, right?
Yes, the battery life on the Xperia Z3, however you would like to pronounce it, V on Verizon is amazing. Definitely
Right.
a 2-day phone.
Right. So the next thing I want to bring up is the fact that after asking a whole bunch of people, streaming services is the best way to go as far as music and all that other is concerned. I still have the issue as many people who live on the outskirts or of town and they have data issues and also that kind of stuff still enjoy managing my own collection. I realize that I am crazy and not in the majority. I'm in the minority class with that. So I would say from the majority standpoint, this is a good move both on PlayStation and Spotify to take that stuff moving forward. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a nice partnership. I mean, it helps Spotify get their service out on more devices and gives Sony a large subscriber base of people that listen to music using Spotify. So it could be a win-win.
Right. All right. Next up, Amazon takes on Microsoft and Gmail with something called Workmail and other cloud services offered to the enterprise. This is a way for people and businesses to organize their calendar and their emails. Now, we all know that there's a smorgasbord of that out there already, but Amazon wants to hop into the enterprise and say, hey guys, we're here to compete against Microsoft and Gmail. Kevin and I both agree Outlook is a nice application. It's great. And in fact, the new version of Outlook that's on the mobile platforms, Android and iOS, is really skyrocketing in the amount of people who love using it. In fact, Kevin said earlier, Gmail, it's the best Gmail client that some people are using, and it's made by Microsoft. But they did acquire a company called Acompli earlier, I want to say a month or two ago, and man, did they turn around a good product in a short amount of time to, deliver a good job. But this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the story I just said, but just reinforces how Amazon could possibly move into that mobile space once they try to establish themselves in the enterprise market. Now, Kevin would probably agree with me here, and I'll let you kind of say this, but I believe that Outlook is a great one. I don't know if this, from the screenshots and what I see, it being taking it on. It's called work mail. Nobody likes work and nobody likes mail, so when you put those two words together, nobody's going to like that anyways, right?
Right. I mean, once you look at some of the screenshots, you're like, wow, this looks a lot like Google Calendar and Gmail and stuff like that. And you've been hearing a lot of reports of users on iPhone and iPad that are using the new Outlook app that they feel that it's one of the best Gmail experiences on the platform, even better than Google's own Gmail app.
Right. Exactly. So this was an interesting story. Again, go to thetechinformist.com to find out all of our show notes, where we pulled these stories from, and if you want to comment or contribute on any of those via our social media. The next thing is, Kevin, do you want your whole life to be lived on a phone?
No.
Okay. The reason why I bring this up is driver's license on a phone. I brought up something that is this. If you're on your door, an officer is at your front door at your house or place of residence, and they say, we want to talk to you, can we come in? Once you let them in, they can anything in plain sight they can use against you without a warrant, and take you off to jail, whatever, arrest you, this other kind of thing. My concern is with this driver's license on a phone, without several security guards in the way. Not actual physical security guards in the way, but I mean, like, security, things in place like a password and stuff like that. When you hand an officer your phone or you show them the information on your phone, I think that might invite them to be able to say it's okay to look at anything that they want to look at on your phone. So that's concerning to me. Kevin, would you agree?
I would definitely agree, because if, for example, you get pulled over and, the officer asks for license registration, you're not going to hand them over your phone, because just opens up Pandora's box right there.
I just got a chill down my spine when you said that. You're like, license and registration. I'm like, oh my God, loss of money. Loss of money. That's all I'm thinking of. I'm not in trouble for anything, because I don't do anything illegal aside from,
speeding, driving recklessly.
Yeah, you're right. So, I know that the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to lose money. So I'm like, ugh. Anyway, so there's a lot to this particular story, but just the overall view is, I think many of you would agree with me here. I think it's a cool concept, but I don't really think that it's ready yet. I would rather it be one of those things that, if you're going to do the license plate reader thing on my car, just go ahead, and if you see me in there, I think computers are smart enough now that they can do some cross-section and figure out if I have a driver's license or not, frankly.
Right.
Anyways, so PlayStation, again, this is the Sony show for some reason, but no, they've been coming out with a lot of interesting stuff. PlayStation View, if you're not using it, and you will be using in the future, it's interesting for cord cutters as an option for entertainment. The reason why I bring this up is, along with Dish's Sling, which, Kevin, did you know about Dish being one of the most hated companies in America?
I've heard some rumblings about that.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
interesting.
I've never used Dish Network and only know a few people that are Dish Network subscribers.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I wouldn't have thought. Let's just say I wouldn't have thought they were in the top 6. Let's just say that. I would have thought there would have been some other stuff in the way. Anyways, so the PlayStation View is essentially a way for people to cut the cord and run TV channels through their PlayStation. This is cool because I think this opens up again the market for more Sling TV. What do they call that? HBO Go. But I mean, what do they call that when you want specific things? Is it like a la carte or something like that?
Yes, a la carte. Just like when you go to fancy restaurants and you look at the $50 steak and you realize nothing else comes with that. You have to buy your sides individually, separately.
Right.
A la carte.
Right. Okay. So we want things that are on demand. We want just what we want, and that's what we want to pay for. End of story. Right. It's kind of it's similar to like an app, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't want all the apps in the world. I just want this particular app, and I'm willing to
Right.
pay, X amount of dollars. Anyways, so this was cool to me, and I think it's going to be cool to PlayStation owners because, as we all know, the PlayStation is selling very well around the world. It may not be edging out the Xbox, but they're still selling god tons of them. So I think again, we need to start a funding campaign so that Kevin can get the new PlayStation 4 to try this stuff out,
Yeah.
and
Let's
the
do a
new
GoFundMe.
um, and the new Xbox One.
Right.
So
And Wii
those are
U.
and
Gotta
Wii
have
U.
all,
Yeah,
gotta have all
gosh,
three to be able to compare them properly. Just real
absolutely.
quick bit of tidbit on the PS4. They recently, I'm not sure who it was that auctioned this off, but they auctioned off one of those 20th anniversary PS4s that I mentioned way back so many episodes ago that was going to look similar to like the original PlayStation from '95. And they auctioned it off for $128,000.
Oh, really?
And I think the proceeds go to some charity, but somebody paid $128,000 for a PS4.
My silence is probably the best answer on that one. Unreal Engine is unreal. Kevin, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch this video, but please do. Everybody watch this video. It's the future of what we can expect from developers who can make things in objects in space within the augmented virtual reality space that doesn't actually exist in real life. People that are making things that are so real, it's insane. It's just crazy. I suggest everybody go watch this and pay attention to the gaming engine called Unreal Engine. I think they're on 4, but
Yes.
it's really really cool. And I think that a lot of you geeks will get into this kind of stuff, and it's stuff that we like a lot. So I'm gonna try watching this particular story because with HoloLens and the augmented realities and the Oculus and all these different VRs, virtual reality stuff, that I think that the more realistic this stuff gets, man, the better porn's going to be in the future. I'm just kidding. We're a family
Dude,
show here.
what'd you call that first device that you mentioned? What was that first device you just mentioned there?
The HoloLens?
That sounds better.
What did I say?
You said HoloLens again.
No, not again. I didn't say it the wrong time
Yes.
the first time.
Oh,
No, you want to know,
once you
Richard?
listen back, you'll be like, "Oh,
Uh,
wow, I did.
I
Darn
did
it, I
say,
did."
yeah. No, Richard Hay was the guy who kept calling it the Halo lens when he was on the show last Friday, right? Yeah. And I was just like, dude, it is hard to say, but I can say it right. And then Kevin just said that I didn't. So
Sorry to bring you down, man.
now I'm mopey. Now I'm Eeyore. Eeyore. All right. Well, those are my stories for the week. I was excited to hear about them. The biggest thing was music. For me, Spotify isn't the first thing that comes to mind when I think about managing my own music, because I like taking my music, much like our good friend Brad that listens to the show and other people. I like managing my own music and doing all that with either in it backed up to the cloud or on a physical drive that I can always take with me somewhere, because I want to be honest with you, I live in the sticks, and sometimes, as with recently, Kevin and I just experienced an issue with the internet. I want to be able to consume my content if I'm not connected to the internet or a data source. So
Right.
again, I think that Spotify is a nice way to do it. Hey, I didn't ask you this, Kevin, but is there a way for me to upload my personal music into Spotify, or is it just streaming?
Honestly, I'm not the best person because I have not spent a lot of time with Spotify. I've got an account, but I've never went with the premium or anything like that. And
I'll
honestly,
look
I've
into
only
that.
dabbled into it.
I'll look into that. But you know what? Your stories are way cooler than mine. Let's go into them.
All right, so first up, let's move over to Microsoft for a change, which I know it's going to throw some people off, especially this episode. But
Oh,
Microsoft is looking to invest roughly $70 million into Cyanogen Mod. So the Cyanogen company that is well known for putting together various images and of Android for Android devices. Microsoft's looking to invest with them. Now, what all does that mean for people? That kind of remains to be seen because obviously when Microsoft has their own Windows Phone platform, but it only has 3% of market share, unfortunately. And Cyanogen's been around for a while. It's very popular. They've been able to help users get newer versions of Android on older devices that, whether it's Google or the individual carriers or the device manufacturers have stopped supporting these devices. They've been able to help get some newer images and software available for users to install on their devices. Of course, it takes a little bit of work to get these images on there, but if you're willing to put in a little time and effort, you can figure out how to do that. So Cyanogen offers an alternative version of Android mobile operating system free of such restrictions. The 80-person company claims to have a volunteer army of 9,000 software developers working on its own version of Android.
Oh, that's intense.
Now, Kirk McMaster, Cyanogen's chief executive, says, "We're going to take Android away from Google." Now, that's a very controversial statement because
it's bold.
Google owns Android.
Right.
So
that's like them saying, we're going to take Windows away from Microsoft. It's like,
exactly.
I don't think you're going to do that.
Yeah, and at an industry event sponsored by tech news service The Information, McMaster said Cyanogen had raised $100 million to date. Previously, the company has disclosed that it raised $30 million of funding. The company spokeswoman declined to make McMaster available for this particular story, which is from the Wall Street Journal. McMaster says more than 50 million people use a version of Cyanogen Android operating system, most of whom have installed it in place of their phone's initial operating system. So a third mobile ecosystem as an alternative to rivals Google and Apple could help Microsoft better distribute its apps and services on smartphones, which Microsoft has been doing a lot over the last year with official Office apps, Outlook, OneDrive, just pretty much the majority of Microsoft services are available on Android and iOS, along with Windows Phone, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And Cyanogen may have a greater chance than Microsoft to build a third ecosystem for mobile, says Rajiv Chand, managing director at Rupberg & Company Investment Bank, focused on the mobile industry.
So a couple of things here we should note is that it's not like Microsoft's investing a whole. I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money like they lost on, say, the Nook.
Yeah, $300 million.
Right. So. But it is interesting, kind of like from Nadella seems like the guy you would want in charge. It's kind of like the Art of War guy. Like he's really, I mean, he's not like old white guy salesman. He's like a ninja. Some of the things he says and stuff like that. Like you got to go back and listen to him because at first take you're like, oh, that was positive, and then you listen to it back, you're like, he says a lot, but he doesn't say a lot. And there's something to be said for that because if you can attack your enemies without having to attack your enemies, that's kind of like a whole Art of War thing, And for them to support CyanogenMod, which, like you said, arguably is one of the more favorite of the custom ROMs that are put on Android devices.
Yeah, I've used their images before, and they've worked very well.
Yeah, then rock on. That's a cheap way for them to try and destabilize that. As I look at it more as that, and I could be wrong, and you know what? Most of the time I am, but that's what's gorgeous about me. Is that
you totally stole my line.
I know. That's why I smiled at the camera because I was looking at that. So, anyways, but what my thought is that this isn't a play for that space like these guys think it is. I think it's simply just a play to disrupt Android and make Android spend more time fighting amongst themselves than it is, that sort of thing. Because Microsoft does a good job because it has to, not because it necessarily wants to, but they do a good job of offering their services on other platforms, and they still haven't really answered the question as to why would I want a Windows PC or device over, say, Android or iOS if all your services on their competing platforms are just as good. Why would I choose Windows? And
Right.
I think that's a compelling case to be made. One of those is price, but then you've got the Chromebooks and Android devices. You know what was really interesting to me is LG had an amazing quarter this last quarter round. Did you see that news? That
Yes, I
was
did.
interesting to me because I was like, if there was a company I thought would do pretty well, it would have been HTC. But anyways, you're up next.
All right. So I've got a couple stories here about the FCC. And the first
Okay.
one is about the FCC will force wireless carriers to track indoor 911 calls.
Ah.
So there's been a long recognized gap in 911 call response. If you make an emergency call from a landline or while you're outside, emergency operators can track the call with some degree of accuracy. Indoors, however, no federal regulations exist, and it's a loophole that arguably has led to some harrowing moments, but the FCC is finally moving to help close it. The Commission voted recently unanimously to approve a new standard for call tracking. Now, according to The Verge, under these newly approved rules, within 2 years, carriers will need to give an indoor position within 50 meters in 40% of cases. And within 5 years, under these new rules, the location will have to be accurate in 60% of cases. And AT&T is saying that the rules would waste scarce resources. The major carriers proposed a voluntary roadmap for improved tracking, but fought against outright regulation in filings sent to the FCC. Others, like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, have since expressed concern that tracking regulations could unnecessarily invade privacy, and Commissioner Michael Riley approved the rule, but similarly feared the government would be able to pinpoint the location of law-abiding citizens using the new rules.
Hmm.
One last bit of information. The Find Me 911 Coalition, a group that has pushed the FCC for stricter regulations, said in a statement to The Verge that the new rules didn't go far enough. While the rule claims to improve indoor accuracy, there appears to be no indoor-specific requirements in it, only a blended indoor-outdoor standard that allows the carriers to take credit for their outdoor location performance.
It can't be just me, but does it always seem like in every news article there's always one organization that says these don't go far enough? You're just like, wait, on one side they say they go too far, on the other side they say they don't go far enough. It's like you're like, is there really literally no middle ground? I mean, honestly, is there no middle ground here? Good story, Kevin. I actually, the whole time you said that, I was listening to you as opposed to some of the other times. No, I'm just messing with you. So what else is going on with the FCC?
All right, so another thing the FCC has also done, they have changed the definition of broadband. Now, most people, you're familiar with broadband as being anything other than dial-up. Now, as part of its 2015 Broadband Progress Report, the FCC has voted to change the definition of broadband by raising the minimum download speeds needed from 4 megabits per second to 25 megabits per second, and the minimum upload speeds from 1 megabit per second to 3 megabits per second, which effectively triples the number of U.S. households without broadband access. Currently, 6.3% of U.S. households do not have access to broadband under the previous 4.1 threshold, while another 13.1% do not have access to broadband under the new 25 megabit per second downstream threshold.
You
Now,
poor, homie. You poor. Not you.
right.
No, not you. You're really poor.
Right.
That's kind of
So,
what this was about.
so I mean, that's pretty interesting because, where my dad lives, he cannot get pretty much anything other than satellite internet.
Right.
And, other people that have access to, like Uverse, for example, from AT&T, they may offer all these different package levels, but you might only, depending on the area that you live in, the equipment that's run in your area, you might only be eligible for, half of those different options and not be able to get the full speed. So it's very interesting to
So
see that.
what I want to say about this is simply one thing: is that I believe as a person, a group, society, and just as a people moving forward, we have to aspire to something. We have to. By the way, you said something that was hilarious. Thank God I was on mute because I laughed really loud and it would have blew everybody's eardrums out. But I think that we have to aspire to something. I don't think that setting goals for having these broadband And what truly is broadband, because I mean Kevin and I both know this from firsthand, and many of you know, 12 megabytes or whatever is not broadband. I mean, you can say it is, but just because you say it is, it doesn't mean it is, you know. And I think that these rules are a way for us to aspire to be better. I don't, you know, I get it. Corporations need to make money, and not just a little bit, like billions upon billions of dollars. And they need investors and all this other kind of stuff. But at the same time, I mean, there is so much to the dynamic of the FCC and broadband and all this other stuff that we really have to continue to aspire to bring more access, because I truly believe the more knowledge that we have as a people, society, and as a whole, the better off we will be. And knowledge, even if it's sometimes feels one-sided, at least you can have like multiple windows going at the same time, or listen to this show live, or interact with more stuff. And there's just tons of stuff to say about how important this is. And I know people overseas are just like, gosh, these guys are still in the dark ages over there. But you know, I mean, that's something that we deal with in this country, and I think that it needs to be addressed.
Right. I mean, we do have a larger surface area, you know, one of the largest surface areas in the world to have to cover. So companies have to start working together and stuff like that. And one other interesting thing that FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel wants to increase the minimum broadband standards far past the new 25 megabit per second download threshold up to 100 megabits per second. She says, we invented the internet. We can do audacious things if we set big goals. And I think our new threshold, frankly, should be 100 megabits per second. I think anything short of that shortchanges our children, our future, and our new digital economy.
I agree with that. So your next two stories, either one you pick is going to be hilarious for me, so go.
Okay. So the next one that I'm going to touch on is Samsung is reportedly unbundling TouchWiz from Android for the Galaxy S6. Now, that does not mean there will be no TouchWiz on the next Galaxy device. But it means it's going to be they're looking to pretty much pare it down and go the opposite direction that they've been going the last few years, where they just keep trying to shove everything into a device, which one takes up storage, two affects performance because things are running in the background that you might or may or may not be able to shut off. And obviously you cannot uninstall this software without having to go through some, you know, extreme measures according to some people, but for some people it's just simple couple clicks of a button on your computer and boom, you can start doing that.
Right.
So, and it's always been one of my biggest complaints of Samsung is, you know, I don't need all that. Make this stuff separately available on either the Play Store or, as Samsung has been doing lately, your own App Store. So if I want these features, I can install them if I choose to, and if I do not want them, I don't have to have them on my phone.
Right. So, real quick on this particular subject, the reason why I think they're doing this, honestly, is I think they took developers, and I could be wrong again. I think they took developers from the TouchWiz or skinning of Android, and they were like, okay, we're going to actually release two phones this year. We're going to release an Android, and we're going to release a Tizen. I really, truly believe that Samsung is wanting to move away from Android as their one play, because I think they're looking at Android as a whole and saying, this is just like Windows back in, 20, 30 years ago, with everybody trying to make, razor-thin margins on this stuff, with our profits being down. We need to control our own stuff rather than rely on an outside company. And then I think what you're going to see is Samsung kind of scale back their, what they've done, and then move those developers and stuff on over to Tizen to spend more time on that. That's what my opinion and future outlook is, and the reason why they're doing this. I really do.
I think another reason is cost. I mean, they've spent a lot of money developing this software.
Yeah.
And obviously people, it's kind of well documented that 2014 wasn't the best year for Samsung.
No.
They've seen market share kind of decrease a little bit as HTC and LG and some other companies of Motorola have put out some really nice devices. So not everybody wants to just buy a Galaxy
Yeah.
device, even
Or
though
the
they
new,
still.
yeah, or the new iPhone. I mean, 74.5 million. I
Yeah,
mean, 74.5 million iPhones were sold last quarter, and I think we can all agree that was. I mean, some of those people were hopping straight from Samsung back on over to iPhone.
right. Yeah, so I mean,
Okay.
it's good. We'll wait and see what Samsung has for us in the
Yeah.
coming months.
But watch out. I mean, when you guys watch the news or you see the news, be like, oh, dude, JJ said that. He goes, yo, check this out. This is what they're going to do. That's what I think they're going to do. All right. For dogs, Kevin? For
Yes.
dogs.
Fitbit for dogs. Now that's kind of in quotes. Fitbit for dogs maker Whistle acquires
Mhm.
Tag Pet Tracker and what raises $15 million. Now, one of the things that I did notice when I was at CES back a few weeks ago, earlier in January, is that wearables for pets is legitimate. There's a lot of different companies that are making these pet trackers, so it's not as simple as just injecting a chip into their neck so you can quickly scan it. People are wanting to put, decorative tags with, tracking and GPS functionality, and sometimes even little cameras on their collars. So said space did just get a bit smaller today as Whistle, the startup which launched its Fitbit for dogs back in 2013. Now Whistle is expanding its position with the acquisition of a competitor in the pet wearable space, Tag, and adding another 15 million to its war chest via a Series B round led by Nokia, growth partners, and including Qualcomm, Carmelo Anthony. Now he's an NBA player, so Carmelo Anthony's
I was
Melo
interested. I was
7,
like, what?
yeah, Melo 7 tech partners, and Queensbridge venture partners and existing investors. Whistle's activity tracker is a small disc that snaps onto a mount designed to fit any dog collar, and the company got out to an early lead in the space thanks to distribution deals with major retailers like PetSmart. It has raised 25 million, including this round, which is surprisingly little for a hardware startup that has already managed to ship one device at scales large enough for international distribution in a major chain. Now, this is from Tech. This article is from TechCrunch, and there's a lot of
Hmm.
some interesting story here. Tag, a Qualcomm subsidiary that Whistle acquires today, is already the largest maker of such a device, which is currently shipping. Whistle's own product has a promised ship date of late 2015 listed on its website. The acquisition of Tag answers the demand that Whistle saw for Whistle GPS product through their pre-order campaign, and Whistle co-founder and CEO Ben Jacobs says that its unique GPS and pet tracking technology will be combined with Whistle's existing industrial and product design smarts, as well as its user experience on both the hardware and software side.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think I underestimate the amount of dog enthusiasts and lovers and all this other kind of stuff that are out there. But I mean, there is a lot,
Oh yeah.
and
People will
and
pay a pretty penny for their
yeah.
dog to make sure that they're safe, and I understand that.
By the way, I have two cats for free, not for sale, for free. So if anybody wants them, just let me know and I'll ship them to you.
Oh, poor guys, poor guys. But no, it's kind of interesting to see and how many different wearables I saw for dogs and for this exact purpose. And I have to say there was at least 5 to 10 companies that had this, and that's just the ones that I could see as I was just walking by and like, wow, look at
Oh,
there.
it's CES.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it's a growing industry, and
Hmm.
if you can make them small enough to put on dog collars and stuff like that.
Telling you, if I had kids, they'd wear collars. Well, not literally wear collars because that's freaking weird, but you know what I mean. Like I would, you know, hey, you want a bracelet? Here, you should wear this necklace or bracelet or whatever. It'd be cool, right? And it's
Yeah.
actually like a GPS tracker or whatever.
All right. So that pretty much does things for the news. Let's run into our app picks. JJ, what do you got to show off here? What do you want to talk about?
So, it's been an interesting time trying to not be sad about some of the most recent apps that were pulled, like Bank of America and Chase from Windows. But there is an app that came out that is actually made, and friggin' Paul Thurrott on Windows Weekly, threw this out there as an app. But if you don't listen to that show and you listen to this one, NPR One for Windows, it's a universal app. So you can get it on phone and on desktop. NPR One is a way to manage your NPR's collection, the National Public Radio's collection of broadcasts on your devices. It's really cool. I'm a big fan of the American Life, and there's a couple of other cool little tidbits of shows that are on there that I think a lot of our listeners would find pretty cool. And if you haven't already found out about the app and you don't, you live under a rock or whatever in the Windows Phone community, this is something that I've tried and actually like. So from now on, when I make an app suggestion, I'm actually going to try the app and make sure that it's legit before I actually talk about it during the show. And this is really cool. The next thing I want to talk about is Lifehacker, which is a great site, lifehacker.com. It's an amazing site. Now, I'm not vouching for everything they talk about on there because some of it's BS, but some of it's really good. But there is an app called Habit RPG, so role-playing game, and it was developed by a guy who has ADHD, and it was a way for him to knock out tasks in his daily life like it was a game. And that idea I had thought about before as some type of way to ninja out some of my issues in completing tasks, and I really like this because it's like a web-based type of application, so it's not necessarily platform related, but I mean you can access it via the web. So I think it's neat to play around with, and I think it's a cool idea, and I think listeners of this show would like to check that out. Also, Papa Roach, if you're into rock music, is releasing their latest album, I think either today or tomorrow, or it's already out. It's called Fear, and it should be awesome. So I like one of the songs on there. But anyway, so that's my app and music picks of the week.
All right, yeah. Just real quick, I did find, I was looking through Twitter, and previous guest J.R. Rayfield suggested Feedly Reader. Now, for people like me and JJ, we got to keep up with all this different tech news and things that are going on in the world, and we have to keep up with this stuff while we're on the go on our computer. Well, on Android, there is now the Feedly Reader app, and it's free, and you just log in with your Feedly account, and it's a nice material design, so it almost looks like it was done by Google, but it's very nice and very simple. So I like it. It's free and available definitely on Android, not sure on iOS, but iOS users, have a look.
Yep. Awesome, dude. I had a great time on this show. I hope everybody has a safe and happy weekend, because here in the States, I think they said the Super Bowl this year was going to be the most watched televised event of history.
Yeah, usually it's kind of like that every year.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, Super Bowl is usually the #1 most watched event of the year.
That's crazy. But anyways, stay safe. Hope you enjoy the show. Follow me at JJ Hammond Music on Twitter. That's literally the best place to get a hold of me. Kevin?
Yes, so people can always find me on Twitter at Kevin Harvell, and also on Google Plus Kevin Harvell. So, and I do like to interact with people. Just hit me up and let's strike up a conversation. Make sure to tell your friends about the Tech Informist. So, because we love people talking about the show, because if you're enjoying what we're doing, tell people about us. Make sure to visit thetechinformist.com. Again, you can watch live each week on 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. thetechinformist.com/live. Watch and participate in the chat room as well. Find us on Twitter at Tech Informist, Google Plus, Facebook, Instagram, pretty much everywhere, as mentioned. And also, one last thing that I keep forgetting to mention. If you would like to be a contributor for the techinformist.com, send us an email, link us to some of your previous work, send that to contact@thetechinformist.com. We are looking to grow our content creators, and that is not going to be just free. We will compensate you, so it's not just a completely free gig. If you would like to contribute and join the Tech Informist team, please ask, shoot us a message, contact us. We would love to talk with you. And if you have a product or company or service that would look to advertise or sponsor an episode or a series of episodes or advertise on the website, you can also reach out to us at contact@thetechinformist.com. We'd love to hear from you. So that pretty much does it for me. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. We truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And as JJ mentioned, everybody have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Monday. And that does it for another episode of the Tech Informist. So from everybody here, consider yourself informed. Until next time, we are out.